Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by Don Charles over Zoom for first time this year. Don, Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed the festive period. What did you get up to for as much as what you could, obviously, in these times?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too and your family. I wish you a prosperous 2021. Yeah, didn't get up to much with the climate, the way it is at the moment with this COVID pandemic crisis. Obviously, we were under instructions by the government you're only allowed, I believe, one family to visit. So it was a very quiet one. And I'll be honest with you, it suits me because I'm quite a private person. And obviously, we've all worked hard all year round. And it was a time to have a rest. And I just chilled, rested, slept. I probably had enough sleep to last me the whole of 2021 in the period of over the December period and leading up to the new year.
I mean, Don, you said there you've had enough sleep to last you 2021. Now, I imagine you'll be able to get a bit more in now because of the unfortunate news that came a couple of days ago. The British Boxing Board of Control suspending boxing for the month of January. You obviously had Florian Marku in camp getting ready to face Marku-Charlton. Just reflect on kind of these past few days and leading into that decision. Did you have any inkling? Did you have any kind of prior knowledge that was being considered, that there would be no shows in January?
No, like everybody else, it came out of the blue. I didn't have there was no lead ups to it, whether they were going to make such an announcement. And it wasn't long ago that they started to allow X amount of crowd back to the venues. So that was very promising. Then from that, I thought it's going to get better from that, where they're going to allow more people, more crowd. And to my surprise, I'm sure to everybody's surprise, it was a sudden, like, you can't compete anymore till further notice. So the same way it was a shock to everybody, it was a shock to me and disappointing. But like I said, you know, we've been obviously the talk at the moment amongst ourselves in the gym is that of, you know, when you evaluate everything, what's happening at the moment, we feel, or I certainly feel very privileged in the world that we live in today, because there are people all over the world, you know, suffering from this pandemic here. People are losing people. I know it's getting closer to home now. I know quite a number of people who have now lost loved ones, you know. So when you start to look at everything, at the bigger picture, then you start to consider yourself. We haven't happened to be in a job, the boxing industry, where I feel privileged because we actually been allowed to still practice our craft. The fighters are still training because we come under the category of elite athletes. As you know, football, the Premiership is still, the football industry, they're still playing, you know. So we sort of fall under that category where the boxers are allowed to train. And we've just been told that we can no longer compete. All the shows are cancelled till further notice. But I still see us as privileged in these terrible times we're going through, because, you know, people got more problems bigger than boxing, if you know what I mean. People are fighting for their lives, you know, to stay alive. And not only are we alive, we're fit, and we're still practicing what we do for a living. That's a privilege, in my opinion. So we should count ourselves, you know, blessed and lucky.
Just in Florian's case, especially over these past 6 months, everybody in the UK, we've got to know just what he's about in terms of not just his fighting style, and he is a person more so than anything. He just wants to get out. He wants to fight. He fought on the boxer undercard, and then he fought Jamie Stewart, and he would have immediately had another quick return at the beginning of this year. he's obviously sacrificed his Christmas period the same way Charlton did to train and to diet to get ready for that fight. On a personal note for him, is there any extra sense of frustration that maybe he couldn't tail off over the Christmas festivities and just enjoy himself a little bit more?
No, not really. Again, like I said, I always try and look at put a positive spin onto any negative. Everything you said there, Florin Marku and Marku-Charlton, they're not the only ones who are affected by this. This is a widespread, nationwide, countrywide, worldwide problem. It's not just a personal problem. You know, even at normal times when things were normal, you know, you could be training for a fight and the opposition gets injured or you get injured and the fight gets postponed. You just have to manage it and wait till such time the fight gets rescheduled. And I'm afraid we have to stay positive. It's unfortunate, of course, it's unfortunate. Yeah, especially I'm the coach, so I'm not the one who puts myself through the punishing rigorous training and also keeping the weight and stuff. So totally understand what it entails. Terrible disappointment. Of course, the fighters are very disappointed. I'm disappointed, but we have to stay positive and to look at it that we're still very privileged. I'm very blessed to be in if my only worry, I'm sure the people who are away from boxing, if their only worry was to stop what they're doing for a living temporarily, it's not indefinite, it's temporary. I'm sure that if they were given an option, they'd rather have their health first than their profession secondary, in some case, a third thing. You know, we're disappointed, but it's not the end of the world. This thing is not gonna last it's not indefinite, okay? It's a little bit up in the air at the moment because nobody really knows exactly what happens next, yeah? So we just have to be professional, stay in the gym, tweak the program so that the fighter doesn't over-peak.
Don, the show obviously does still go on there. You mentioned the things that you have to do with Florian just to kind of keep him ticking over. Have you had any initial conversations as to when we could see the rescheduled fight now?
I think it's just everybody's just guessing. If I told you now it's a pure uneducated guess, I should imagine you're probably looking at, I don't want to raise my hopes. I just want to give let's say worst case scenario. Worst case, I would probably say spring, yeah? Then if it happens sooner, and I hope it does, then it's a bonus. But if you set your mind, I've certainly set my mind and my fighter's mind, yeah? I said, look, if we anticipate, I've spoken to a few people as well within the industry, and everybody's kind of saying, yeah, it could be like February, it could be March. So for that reason, I've set my mind that we're probably looking at springtime, April, that the shows will be allowed again to start having shows. But if it's sooner, we'll welcome it. You know, everybody will get the same notification. It's not like one party is going to be notified first. The board will notify us in good time to retweak our program.
Don, I actually happened to speak to Charlton a few hours ago, and he's hopeful that it could take place in a few weeks' time after the original scheduled bout. So he's looking around maybe the middle to end of February. One thing that Eddie Hearn has come out and said that if shows weren't to return in the UK in February, then he'd look to get them on regardless. By that, meaning taking them elsewhere outside of the United Kingdom. Is it again something you guys are preparing for?
Well, you prepare. This is a profession. This is a job. You prepare for any eventuality. We're not the promoter. If the promoter feels that the promoter is able, because the logistics, you got to look at the logistics here. If the promoter is able to do that, then of course we will gladly go wherever the promoter feels he'll put the show on. And yeah, I mean, we're professionals, so you have to, we're versatile. We're not going to refuse to go abroad to fight if that such opportunity came. So we're open to anything. Listen, it's an Eddie Hearn show. They're both signed to Eddie Hearn, the Matchroom platform. If Matchroom wants to put it elsewhere, then yeah, who are we to say no? No, we welcome that opportunity.
Don, moving away from that fight, take me back to Florian's last performance against Jamie Stewart on the AJ Pulev undercard. I think if you was to speak to most people, they would say they had Florian winning. I thought Florian did enough to win the fight. A lot of people surprised by the outcome of a draw. Reflect on it for me. What are your thoughts now?
Well, obviously, I've calmed down in terms of I was very. I've given previous interviews to different networks, and I was outraged. I'm still outraged as to how the referee came to that, drew that conclusion from that fight. I feel so strongly about it that I'm not going to stop to. I need answers. I am not the only one. I must point out, I'm not the only person or coach or stable that this has happened to. There's been so many strange results in the past and of recent times as well. This is a widespread problem. It's not just our problem. And what I would like to see to happen in the future is to the law, the British Boxing Board of Control, whom I think highly of, because to me, not because I'm based here in the UK, they do a very good job, and I've always done a very good job in terms of governing the sport that we all love. Yeah, but I think certain things need to be looked at with the potentially of maybe changing where fights are, scored or judged. For one, I think one of the things they should really look at, this is a problem that's been around for many, many years, where in a non-title fight, only the referee can score the fight, okay? So I think that law should be really looked at, that rule should be really looked at, because the referee is in the thick of the action, okay? Yes, he's the one closest to the fight in the ring, but I think it's too much for one man to perhaps remember what happened every round after every round, to be able to give them that pressure of getting them to judge who won the fight at the end of the fight. So I think judges should be put into, whether it's a 4-round, a 6-round, 8-round, or whatever, there should be judges rather than just a referee. Yeah, and then you could say, how comes there's also been cases where fighters that they've got 3 judges, you're still getting one judge, like it's almost like, what fight was that of a third judge watching? We've had many cases like that also. So we need to find a way of eradicating these things, because after all, we're all human beings. The judges are human beings. Referees are human beings. We're prone to make mistakes. Yeah. Even in the cases where you have 3 judges, and like I said, the scores cards come back in at the end of the fight, and there's been many cases, like I said, people question what fight was judge number 1 or judge number 2 or number 3 watching. They're so far wide apart, the scores. So what should also be brought in on that point is to, as well as having those judges present, they should also have judges that are not even in the building, but watching it online on their computers, whatever, to then check those scores with the secondary judges before they can, if all in agreement, then to get more chance of having the more accurate result. Because it's not fair. These boxers put their life on the line, yeah? You work your butts off, Yeah, you go through so many sacrifices you make to prepare yourself for that fight, and then to be denied by another human being who might have made an error, yeah, misjudgment. It's not right for anybody. Not just because it's happened to me a few times, but as a coach, it's a horrible feeling because it just it breaks your heart. My fighter was heartbroken. I was heartbroken, but I'm not the one who's in the ring being punched in the face. The fighter, like I said, it was broken. It's taken me a couple of weeks to actually try and rationalize and get him to think straight, get him to get the hunger back to say, no, because you think to yourself, after something like that happens, what am I doing this for? Because it's going to be taking them out. Do I have to knock everybody out? Do I have to, you want to see, I hate to say this sentence, do they want to see death on live television? Yeah, because this is where things like this lead to, because what else do you have to do? They should be judged fairly. If you win a fight, you win the fight. If you draw the fight, if it was a draw, then yeah, but it shouldn't be left to one man who, for whatever reason, he thought that was a draw. I will challenge that particular referee. I would like to bring him to a panel of people who know about boxing and play the fight back to him, because no matter what job we're doing in life, yeah, if we get it wrong to that margin, we should be pulled in and held accountable. I don't see the reason why that decision should be final and the guy shouldn't be challenged. No matter what job, if I go and get a job in the city or a job in Tesco stacking shelves, if I stack the shelves wrongly, the supervisor of that branch of Tesco's or Sainsbury's, yeah, or Marks and Spencer's, I'm giving plugs to all these supermarkets, yeah, the supervisor will pull me and say, why did you put those products on that shelf? It doesn't belong there, or you've overstacked it. I should be pulled in. No matter what job we do, we should be pulled in if we get it wrong. And I believe the referee I've watched that fight over and over and over. I'm struggling to still give Jamie Stewart a clear round. Could he have drawn some rounds? I'm still struggling for him to draw a round. Yeah, okay. According to the referee's score, this is how outrageous it is. According to the referee's score, 76-76, he's given 5 rounds to Jamie Stewart and 3 rounds to us. The only reason he scored a draw because we knocked him down in round 2, I believe. Yeah, round 2. So if we didn't knock that Jamie Stewart down, according to the referee's score, he would have declared Jamie Stewart as the winner of that contest. Outrageous. Yeah, outrageous, totally outrageous. And he should be pulled in. Yeah, I've written to the board. Yeah, okay. Obviously, there's more important things at the moment. Like I said, with the crisis, with the pandemic, fights being postponed, shows being postponed. So then our problem becomes trivial to the overall problem within the industry. But when things go back to normal, I will definitely make it my duty. Yeah, I'm not the only one on this thing. I'm gonna start something going with the other trainers. This is a widespread problem, and we should do everything to eradicate it, to prevent it, so fighters can get fair results. Yeah, they're the ones in the ring putting their lives on the line. The least we ask is to be judged correctly.
Don, it's an interesting debate and conversation to have, because it certainly seems to be a topic that's been discussed a lot more recently over these last couple of years. And certainly I've been involved a lot more in boxing. It seems to be coming up. You go back to this past weekend, Luke Campbell's fought with Ryan Garcia. He dropped him in the second round. One of the judges still awarded it a 10-9 and not a 10-8.
Wow. So I wasn't aware of that, but that's outrageous. There you go. So it's kind of it kind of makes you, it's not right. It really isn't right. And for the audience the paying audience who are paying to watch these fights, it's almost like you're calling them stupid, because what they're watching to what's being judged is 2 or 3 different things. Yeah, you're taking people's money. Give them the right judgment. Otherwise, don't do that job. If you're not fit to judge, then you shouldn't be a judge. If you're not fit to referee, you shouldn't be a referee. You know, so in any walk of life, in any profession we do, you should be held accountable if you get it wrong. Yeah, even the police who police the country. Yeah, every so often you hear the policeman has overstepped the mark by taking they leave the rule books and take it into their own to over police, and the police institution will bring them in. I have read it, I've seen it on where they get pulled in and questioned. You know, how did you arrive at this? Why are you taking the law into your own hand, type of taking it personal? So, you know, we're all human beings. Yeah, referees are human beings, judges are human beings. Yeah, so, you know, this should be really looked at. I feel very strongly about it, not just for myself and my fighters, for future of the sport. It should be really looked at.
Dom, there's just a couple final things which to tie in with this before we move on to another topic. Two things which I've seen people mention with regards to judging or refereeing, and that they'd like to see changes. One, if there is anything which is questionable or debatable with regards to a decision, if referees should come out afterwards and maybe speak in some form of a post.
Most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah. And then secondly, with regards to judging, what are your thoughts on seeing maybe professional boxers or retired professional boxers turning to judging to judge fights?
Most definitely. There's so many things. Yeah, it's one of those things that's just been people. If somebody gets a wrong, what they believe was a wrong decision from a fight, people will only sort of moan and complain. Then it's almost like they don't have the energy and the time to chase it up. So it's sort of left like that. Yeah, nobody has actually physically done anything about following up to say no. That exactly what you just said there. Maybe we should look at how the whole setup. Maybe the whole setup is wrong. Like you quite rightly said, who are these judges? What's their backgrounds? Yeah, who are these referees? What's their backgrounds? Maybe they're not really fit to do the job they're doing. You know, this should be looked at strongly, and you know, it's not right. It's not right, and it should be for the sake of the industry, like I said, that we all love. It should be really looked at. And like I said, the board do a tremendous job, and I think if we bring up a thing where we keep highlighting, keep pushing, I'm sure the board will look at it, because it needs to be looked at. You know, it shouldn't. In the modern world that we live in today, there's no excuses for such things to still happen. In football, they've had to bring in, as you know, VAR, you know, and the tennis, I think, has Hawkeye. Cricket has technology they also use for cricket, yeah? And there's no excuse whatsoever with all the technical technology, modern way of things, there's no excuse for such things to carry on happening, yeah? Okay, and we should really look at it, and I think, you know, it would be music to everybody's ears if something is brought in. If the referee is not sure, for instance, delay the result, delay it. Yes, the audience wants to know, we want to know who won. I don't mind waiting till the next day. If we have to, like, I'll give you an example, the fight that Florian and Jamie Stewart, if they said, you know what, this is tight, the referee's confused, yeah. By the end of the show, we're gonna go and look at it again, and we'll give it a, you know what? We'll wait. Let the other fights carry on. So something has to happen, because that was wrong, totally wrong, all day long. And I feel very strongly about it. Yeah, I feel very strongly for everybody who's involved in boxing, because it's not, like I said, don't for 1 minute thinking I'm saying me. It so happens, it's just happened to us. It's happened in the past to me as well, as a coach. I'm a fighter. And again, I felt very strongly about it. Guess what? Like every human being, after a few weeks, it's like next, you know, you get on with what you're doing next. You just get on with it. But I'm fed up of getting on with it, because so much is put into preparing a fighter for a fight. So much, yeah. Not just us. Every fighter who goes in that ring, the preparation. Every coach will tell you what the early mornings you go into cold, no matter what the weather is, you're out in the heath, taking these boxes up the hill sprints. They're the ones doing it. Yeah, the coaches have to be there to monitor it. We do all sorts to go to all lengths to get the fighter prepared for the fight. Yeah. And then all you ask, the least you ask is to be judged fairly or correctly. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. We should bring something in that a computer or whatever, like I said, they have VAR. You go refer back to the VAR. Okay, in football, it's purely, is it a penalty or is it not? Is that a foul or is it not? Did that ball cross the line or did it not? Okay, so it's more straightforward, I would say, for football. It doesn't take long to look at the monitor to ascertain any of those things that might have occurred. In boxing, we're talking about an overall, like, for instance, this was an 8-rounder. How do you look at every round to see who won it? So it's going to take longer. So that's why I was suggesting that perhaps to stop that, instead of one man judging it, have judges, 3 judges, then on top of that 3 judges, have another panel, a secondary panel. Logistically, they're saying that the finance will be the problem here by bringing them to the venue. So have a secondary thing in place. It could be another 3 judges or 2 judges away from the venue in their homes, watching on a monitor. They could then be looking at it to make sure. The referee will relay every round to those secondary judges to check against his scores, or take the scoring away from the referee totally. Yeah, because referee is one man. Let's say the referee is a biased referee. There is such things. There is such things. He's a human being. Yeah, we're made that way. Let's say the referee, I'm not saying about that particular referee, I'm generalizing. Let's say a referee is a biased referee to one fighter or for whatever reason. Yeah, it shouldn't have that sort of power then to, we don't know what night that referee has had. We don't know what might have influenced that particular referee or any referee. I'm generalizing, by the way. Yeah, we don't know. He's a human being. You might have got out of bed that very day, said, right, I'm going to get everybody. Yeah. The police, the same thing. A policeman might get out of it and say, right, something happened in my personal life. I'm going to take it out on somebody I see. The first person I see today in the street, I'm going to arrest them. There is such things. He's a human being. Human beings do these things, right? So one man should not be left to judge such things. Yeah, not with the amount of money, amount of careers, people's careers are on the line here. Okay, and records have never been reversed. I have not heard of records being. I've heard of non-contest being declared as non-contest, but I don't remember any results that's been overturned to get the right result awarded to the right winner. Yeah, so we're not asking for that. We're just asking, let this be one of the many cases recently that's kind of highlighted this problem that's consistently exists within the boxing industry. We should eradicate it.
Don, moving forwards and just away from Florian and obviously that fight there, this past weekend, as we briefly mentioned earlier, we saw Luke Campbell succumb to a stoppage defeat to Ryan Garcia. I'm sure you watched it, Don. Just reflect on it for me. What did you make of it?
Yeah, listen, obviously I'm a Brit. I'm based here. I earn my living here. And my support is with Luke Campbell. My support is with Shane McGuigan, one of the best coaches in the world. I actually tipped Campbell to win the fight based on a number of factors: his experience, he's a gold medalist, his maturity, also the team that he was with. I thought they had everything to beat this guy who's really untested, the young man, Ryan Garcia. Obviously, when Luke put him down in the second, I believe, yeah, and everything that I thought would happen was happening up to that point. And because the young man, Garcia is very, very, very novice-y. Obviously, he's a very talented kid and he can punch for sure. He's got fast hands. There's so many things wrong with him. He's so flawed that I wouldn't even like to say at the level, because Luke Campbell is at the level. He just finished a 12-rounder with Lomachenko and more than held his own. Yeah, he more than held his own. So you can't say that he was out of his depth. You can't say that. In fact, Garcia, I would say going into the fight was out of his depth. That's how I was looking at it. Okay. Again, not taking nothing away from Garcia. He took his beats and remarkably, he got up from that knockdown because it was a heavy knockdown, you know, and he came back. Obviously, mentally, he's not fragile. He's very strong mentally, ambitious. I could see what the fuss is about, but I'm still not convinced that if they don't correct the things that I saw, the mistakes that I saw, if they don't correct that, he will not go any further than that, because those fundamentals that I'm sure every coach or every boxer would have seen what I witnessed. Okay, he won, yes he did. Tremendous shot that finished the fight, yes it was. But if they don't get carried away and they don't address the things that I've witnessed, not just in that fight, I looked at a few other fights he had before, those problems were still there, but nobody has punished him on them. Luke came close to exposing those fundamental I was talking about or referring to. So if he's mentioning in the fight people like Tank, he like Muhammad, the great late Muhammad Ali would say to him, if you mention my name and you're sleeping, you wake up, apologize, and go back to sleep. He best not keep mentioning Tank's name, because that's I wouldn't recommend him anywhere near Tank at this point.
Something I was going to say, that division is stacked, especially with American talent.
It is.
Ryan Garcia, Kevin Haney, Tank, as you mentioned, Teofimo Lopez.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, he's
Lomachenko. A lot of people still, we've got Lomachenko knocking about there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chap that is it Lopez that beat Lomachenko? Yeah. So that division is infested with with super talented people, and he's not in that level yet. Not saying he won't get to that level, but from the things I've seen, especially in the Luke Campbell fight, he needs to. He can't just rely on being a puncher. There's a lot of other things that go with being that rounded and all-rounded fighter. He needs to work on other fundamentals, on other parts of his game. You know.
Moving away from that one, just going back into 2020 once again, another Brit who was unsuccessful against what is man who is considered a pound-for-pound star in boxing, Saul Canelo Alvarez. Callum Smith losing to him by a unanimous decision. Just reflect on that one for me as well, Don. What did you make of it?
You know what? I'm a very optimistic guy, and I rate myself as a coach. Again, I haven't had much luck calling it these days. I called that one wrong as well. I really did. I called it. People might, when I said it to some people, they said, "Okay, here goes Don." Basically, I'm quite a romantic. I'm a romantic with underdogs, yeah, because I'm always an underdog as a coach. My fighters are always underdogs, so I would back the underdog, yeah. Nobody was giving Smith a chance. Well, I did. I went as far as saying that Smith would beat him and stop him. I had my reasons based on what should happen. And bearing in mind, Canelo is my favorite fighter on the planet right now. Even prior to Smith, he's my favorite fighter, all-rounded fighter. So how can I then go against my favorite fighter? I was just purely looking at it. The main factor I was choosing Smith was the size factor, because I couldn't see how this man would negate and get inside to inflict anything on Smith. But my goodness, I held him on high level, Canelo. I've always have done, but I've even put him higher after that performance. I mean, it's almost like he did to Smith what Mayweather did to him. Yeah, he made Smith look ordinary when he's far from ordinary. He's far from ordinary. So yeah, I was very, very surprised on how he nullified any dangers Smith had and was able to treat a guy. Suddenly, he was taller than Smith in that ring and many parts of that fight. He looked like the taller man. Now you have to really call this guy a magician. Yeah, you got to call him a magician because, you know, to do that, it's not easy. And Smith can punch. Yeah, so you're standing in front of a puncher and he can't do anything to you. That's remarkable. That's amazing.
Don, it seems to be that Canelo's looking to face his mandatory challenger, Avni Yildirim, next. And he wants to get in there with another world champion at 168. It seems to be Billy Joe Saunders is the name that's been mentioned the most. How do you rate Billy Joe's chances if he gets the opportunity to face Canelo finally? What do you think of it?
I've always said that if anyone's come remotely close to having a chance to beat Canelo, it will be that of Billy Joe. Hence why he's been avoided. Yeah, in my opinion, I could be wrong that Billy Joe has been avoided. Billy will give him all sorts of problems, but I'm fed up of keep going against Canelo, right? Okay, in fact, no, when I said only that time I've gone against him in the sense when I chose Smith. Bill, if anyone's got the style to frustrate the hell out of him, yeah, because you need a static target to be successful, and Bill is far from static. You know, he moves. His IQ is also good, yeah, but Canelo always finds a way. Look what he done to Kovalev. He was actually, I think he was behind in that fight. He let you work, and he chooses his moments to hurt you, you know? And, you know, and you might think this is outrageous, yeah? The person I actually think that will beat Canelo, if they were to fight, is Chris Eubank Jr. Yes, Chris Eubank Jr., yeah. I have my reasons, you know? He's got his father's mentality, not that unbreakable mentality. Yeah, arrogance, brash. He's still young, he's in his prime. Yeah, I'm telling you now, yeah, he's the sort of guy, and I think he's looking for the fight, isn't it? He's also putting his name in the hat.
He's a name that's been mentioned, and it is interesting that you say you feel that he has the best chance because he was a name that has been mentioned previously for him.
Trust me, you know, it's about energy, you know. I feel his energy. There's an energy he brings, you know, Eubank Jr. Now he's matured, now he's experienced, you know, because when he fought Billy, he did well, but he was inexperienced. So inexperience cost him that fight, yeah? So I think, and he's a guy for the big stage as well, just like his father, like loves the big stage, you know? I think, I'm not saying Billy could be successful. The man I fancy most to be successful against Canelo is our man, Eubank Jr.
From a stylistic standpoint, having said that then, Don, what do you feel that Eubank Jr. could bring to the fight that would trouble Canelo?
All sorts. It's not just one thing, you know? He can punch, yeah? Eubank Jr. can punch. He's matured. He's mentally very strong, like his father, you know? That's a big thing, the mental side of it, of boxing. He will not be phased at all. And I like his boxing style, yeah? And yeah, he's, for some reason, not for some reason, I've got my reasons, but I just got this gut feeling that someone like that could do it.
Moving away from all talk, Canelo, Don, just moving into 2021, a fight which has been spoken about for many a year. And
sorry to interrupt you, young man. You know what I'm like. I was right. Do you remember our interview back in Stratford in the hotel? And you asked me about Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody had written Joe Joyce off, and I did break it down to you. Yeah, and I did say to you, mark my words, it's too early for Daniel. Daniel is good, but it's too early for him. Joe Joyce is very deceptive to the eye. People wrote Joe off, despite what Joe had achieved and the personnel he has fought. People overlooked it. All the experts or people who believe they know boxing, but they don't. They just go by what other people say. They don't use their own to examine. And I did say to you, my money is on Joe. So I did get that one right. The underdog, right? I got that one right. And again, I did say it would be too much for Daniel. And he was too much for Daniel. And Daniel will come again because he's only young. He'll rebuild and he'll come again. But so sorry to have interrupted, because that just came into my head. I thought, because you interviewed me on it pre the competition, and I broke it down how I believe, and that's exactly how it went. So I'm surprised. Why didn't you ask me that before? Because were you like kind of you know?
Why didn't I ask you about?
Who did you pick? I can't remember who you picked.
Who I picked for that fight?
Yeah.
I don't choose. Don, I sit on the fence.
Okay.
I always sit
I
on
couldn't
the
remember. No, I was winding you up. So why didn't you ask me? Is it because you picked Daniel Dubois? Is that why you didn't bring it up?
No, I'd never thought about it. Obviously, I remember the interview, and I remember you saying all of the points you've just raised. Just never thought about it. Just
no problem.
Moving forwards again, Don, a fight which has been mentioned for many a year, and has had one of those parties come out saying that he would like to face the other. Amir Khan and Cal Brook. Amir Khan has said that he would like to face Cal Brook this year. Are you interested in seeing that fight still, Don?
The answer is yes. The whole British public would want to say it. And I think this is going out to Amir Khan, this is going out to Cal Brook. Come on, guys. It would be a travesty if either of them retire without having faced each other, right? Do the boxing public give us a treat, especially in these pandemic times. Give us a treat. That's a mouth-watering fight, yeah? And I think that they owe the British public that fight. Those two characters, they should really get it on.
And Don, moving on once again on to a final topic, I don't think we've done an interview without looking at the heavyweight scene moving into this year. A lot of talk about what could be up. We could see the Fury AJ undisputed fight, hopefully the undisputed fight, if the belts are all obviously kept together with mandatories needing to be discussed and what have you. But one fight involving your ex-man Derek Chisora and the man who you just spoke about, Joe Joyce, that was kind of spoken about on the back of that, Joe's victory over Daniel. Would you be interested in seeing Joe Joyce versus Derek Chisora?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be an interesting fight.
What would you make of it from a stylistic standpoint?
If any style can beat Joe, Derek Chisora can beat Joe. If any style can beat Joe, Derek Chisora can.
And away from the obvious fight that everybody wants to see, Fury AJ, Don, what fights would you like to see in that division this year, in the heavyweight division?
I'd like to see Dillian Whyte, obviously rematch provoking. But if that doesn't materialize, I'd like to see Dillian. I mean, it's been mentioned, Dillian Whyte fight Ruiz, Andy Ruiz or Luis Ortiz. That'll be a cracking, either of those would be a cracking fight.
Where would Alexander Usyk fit into your plans, Don? Where would you like to see him go if he wasn't to face AJ for the WBO? Well, mandatory for WBO, fight for all the titles, of course.
He could go and fight Wilder. I'm sure Wilder will be looking for a comeback fight soon. He could go and fight Wilder. He could go and face Joseph Parker. Yeah. He could go and fight any of those I've just mentioned. Your Andy Ruiz, your Luis Ortiz. He got past Derek Chisora. He boxed cleverly because I picked Derek to win. It looked like that way for the first 3 rounds till he figured it out. And then, like I said, with his amateur pedigree, saw him through. So there's so many people in the top 10. There's your Manuel Shahs who they don't fight that frequent. There's your Cabellos. Yeah. There's like Huey Fury. Okay. There's Michael Hunter, the one that nobody really speaks about. Yeah. There's Michael Hunter there. There's what's the Croatian child? Hogovic. Yeah, Filip Hogovic. There's him. There's plenty out there that Usyk could fight. And I mean, they've got the regular belts.
Ooh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
They've got the regular belts that these guys could be contesting against, instead of everyone just not competing. Let them fight for the regular belts, and the super champions being Anthony Joshua and Fury. I think those belts shouldn't be broken up and diluted. I think the governing bodies should do the right thing and keep them together. So once and for all, the boxing public, the paying public, should be treated to have those belts unified. Yeah, they shouldn't break them up.
Dom, final thing, the fight which everybody would love to see this year, AJ Fury. How much do you want to see? How excited are you for the possibility of seeing the pair of them finally face off in 2021?
Well, gosh, I mean, that would really be a treat, won't it? For exactly taking into consideration the world, what's going on in the world today. Again, whenever anything like this, everybody in the world is involved, in the sense that what we're going through collectively as human beings, you need these good feel good factors, things that escapism, and a fight like that being made would be a great thing, because it's a historical thing. Again, being two British fighters. And it'll be a really good something to look forward to. It will lift people nationwide, worldwide. So I think it should be encouraged to be done as soon as possible.
Don, we will leave that interview there now. I'm sure I've taken up much more of your time than what you probably expected and signed up for. But as you know, I like to talk myself. I appreciate your time as always, Bo. Thank you for speaking on social, and stay safe. I'll speak to you again soon.
And God bless. Take care.